Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I am here for today's Monday stream. I am live on LinkedIn. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube, and we are about to go live on Instagram. Here that goes. I running a bit late today. I honestly was like just putting my makeup on 5 minutes ago at the home office today. You can always tell it's the home office because there's like my makeup stuff and things over here. I need to figure out a better way to zoom this camera in maybe a little bit so it's not exposing the corners of my room so much. But I am so happy to be here today. Uh, End of year, there always seems to be just a lot going on. There's a lot of questions about the exams, a lot of things about like goal setting. I actually just finished up a video that I think I'm going to be exclusive to TikTok because it's like vertical and almost 5 minutes, so I really can't put it anywhere else. But I am very excited to be here today. It is been a great year. Lots of exciting things going on. I have so much more exciting stuff happening. Some new things that I'm working on developing. Like I'm even doing some goal setting myself. I'm trying to figure out like Victoria at the end of next year, what do I want her to have accomplished? And then how am I going to reverse engineer that? Because I think there's some things that people have been asking me to put together, and I've been putting on the back burner and putting on the back burner and putting on the back burner. And I think it's time to revisit some of that, get that all together. I hope everything's working okay. My mic, I was changing all kinds of mic settings and stuff recently. Yeah, my mic's working okay, good. Whew. Huh. So sit back, relax, say hi to your friends in the chat, and we're going to get started with today's stream. Hey everyone, welcome back to the stream. I'm going to be taking questions today. Is my stuff backwards? Look at this. My shirt's backwards. I can't have that. Why am I mirrored? Hold on. We got to fix that. Okay, we're fixed. We got the camera facing in the right direction. I got my Shrek shirt on today. I'm going out in a bit to have dinner with a couple of friends because I have just got so much cool stuff going on. I'm like, I gotta tell them this in person. So if you guys want to ask some questions in the chat, we are definitely here for that. I'm saying hello to Kate. Hello to Soothing Clouds. Where are you guys coming from today? Florida's coming in from LJ. That's where I'm hoping to be in a few more weeks. I love taking a trip down to Florida in the winter weather. I am a snowbird in training, so it doesn't take much to get me down there. I am always on the lookout for cheap deals down to Florida. So yeah, I want to talk. Let's start with books. So if you are currently planning to take an AAPC exam, right? You only have until the end of the year to take the 2024 version of the exam. Once we hit January 1, that's when all the new code updates that are implemented go into the exam. You can still use your 2024 books in 2025. It's just that you do take a little bit of a risk because if there's any codes that are updated in those exam questions and you don't have an updated book, you could potentially get that question wrong. So you have to kind of weigh that. Some people, they like to mark up their books too, and that becomes a big battle of debate of, is it better to just take your 1 year older book that you have all your notes in, that you've highlighted, that you're familiar with, and risk not having those code updates? Or do you want to buy the new book and then take all that time again to rewrite your notes and rewrite your highlights and re-underline things? So yeah, we've got people. Okay, what kind of questions are on the CPB? We can take a look at that in a second. Oh, there's someone here from Boynton Beach. I think that's where my cousins have a establishment down in Boynton Beach. I believe it's Boynton Beach, isn't it? It's called Nobo. That's owned by my cousins down there in Florida. So what kind of questions are on the CPB exam? Let's take a look at that right now. I'm going to move over some of my screens here and we can take a look at what kind of questions are on the CPB exam, because the CPB itself focuses really more on billing. And if I remember correctly, and I don't want to be misquoted, if I remember correctly, I think it has a different number of questions on it too than some of the other exams. That's not one that I have personally taken. So let's take a look at it and see what it says on the website. Here we go. Are my layouts good? Oh, there we go. This is the one that I like. So CPB. Okay. CPB exam has 135 questions. So I'm glad I looked this up because for some reason in my mind, I was thinking it was 200. Maybe it was back when the exams were 5 hours and 40 minutes. So 4 hours, 135 multiple choice questions. It's going to do, let's see, they usually put the breakdowns all the way at the bottom here. So if you're ever curious about an AAPC exam and what kind of questions are going to be on it, what kind of topics, go to that certification and keep scrolling because it's always at like the super, super bottom. And there's not like a link anywhere, at least currently, of like, click here to see the exam breakdown. It's always just like at the very far bottom. So on the CPB, they have 29 questions on the types of insurance. So Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross Blue Shield, TRICARE, UHC, workers' comp, third parties such as automobile. 17 are just going to be on billing regulations. So that's kind of interesting because it says here that they cover the NCCI edits, LCDs, which makes a lot of sense, NCDs, Incident 2. I have a whole video on Incident 2. If you need some Incident 2 support, I have a video that's the essentials of Incident 2 that I just posted, I think like last month. Global packages, unbundling, completion of the CMS 1500, the UBO4. Ooh, UBO4. 7 questions on HIPAA and compliance. There's going to be 19 on reimbursement and collections. So RBRVS, payer and patient refunds, credentialing, accounts receivable, fair debt, patient statements, patient dismissal, professional courtesy, collections, bankruptcy. 19 questions on claims and billing, and then there's going to be 10 coding questions. So it looks like you can take your code books, which is nice because then you have somewhere to write notes in, right? There's always so much real estate too in the HCPCS books. I don't think I have any of mine with me. They're in the other office. I haven't gotten my paper 2024 HCPCS book yet. I have the ebook versions. They've sent those out from the AAPC. Always check your HCPCS book because there's usually a couple of blank pages in the back for notes. And if you're someone who's like, I want to write down some abbreviations or a couple of concepts that I'm like struggling to remember, you can do that in your HCPCS book because there's usually some blank pages in there that you can write some notes in and then tab that page for quick and easy access. And then 34 case analysis questions, it says. In this section of the exam, source documents are provided for the examinee to review. So you're going to be reviewing actual CMS 1500 claim form. So I'm imagining like a picture of the 1500 claim form, and they're going to tell you maybe like what's wrong with this, what's missing. Payment policies, LCDs, NCDs, appeals, pre-auths. You know, the CPB oddly is one that I haven't looked at any of the materials for. I've never looked at like the study guides, the review classes. I feel like it should be something that I'll have to take a look at. I don't have my CPB. I might one day. Maybe that should be the next one that I try for to see to see the exam updates because I haven't been through that remote proctor chat thing yet. So I don't know what all that's about. Kate asks, along with the ICD-10 and CPT, does the HCPCS also get updated yearly? Yes, they do. And HCPCS books, I just got my ebook from the AAPC last week. I think it might take a little while for the printed books to come. I don't know if I've got a shipping notification or if I will be getting a shipping notification. But yeah, they update January 1, same as the CPT codes. Amber Handy asked, new to coding, I'm taking my CPC soon. How much medical terminology is on there compared to coding? Are you talking about compared to the CPB? I don't know that the CPB, it looks like, covers much med term. I think the CPC has a handful of questions that are specifically just med term questions, but of course there's going to be things that are questions on surgeries, that are questions on diagnoses, that it's going to be a lot easier to answer those questions if you have a firmer understanding of the medical terminology surrounding it. Jessica Johnson asks, what ways did you properly study for your exam? My exam is coming up on Wednesday. Did you do extensive studying on the anatomy? So anyone else who has experience on this, feel free to comment your personal top study tips in the chat to share with Jessica. But I found the practice exams really the most helpful, the official ones through the AAPC. I think once or twice I maybe tried some of the non-official ones, and the word structuring is different than what you'll get presented on the exam for some of them, and I just found them to be a little different than what gets actually presented on these official AAPC exams. If you need some review stuff, there's a couple of things that I recommend. Okay. So I always like to here's some things that if you have some money, invest in this. If you have a lot of money, invest in this. And if you have no money, invest it. This is what free options are out there, right? So as far as anatomy, I didn't do a ton of like isolated anatomy studies. I had more so like a med-term anatomy kind of combo course. So as far as learning, if you're concerned about med-term and anatomy, there is a book that I recommend. So let me bring up a couple of things here first. First, let's get that open, and then I wonder if I have the ebook in my library of that. Terminology for coding. Okay. So there is a really, really cool book called Medical Terminology and Anatomy for Coding. And that is really great if you are looking to put some med term and some anatomy hand in hand with your medical coding studies. It's great because the case scenarios that they present in here pertain to medical coding. They're like, hey, when you're coding this, and here's some coordinating ICD-10 CM codes. So a lot of people have really, really recommended this book in addition. There is a third edition that's a little bit older. So if maybe you were like trying to save some money and you can get an older edition copy, the only difference in that, since anatomy hasn't changed, is that some of the codes themselves have been updated. There are options to rent this as well. You can rent it. You can get an ebook. I'm not sure if I have this in my library for the ebook version. I might. I'm a big ebook girly these days. Yeah. So you can get it on VitalSource, which is where the AAPC distributes their ebooks. You can also rent it there. So if you're like, I really don't want this book past when I'm just doing my medical coding studies or doing my certification studies, you can rent it for a cheaper fee for like 3 months or so. The other option, as far as studying, I love these step-by-step books. The 2025s have just released. These are like a medical coding textbook, like how to learn medical coding. And some of the ones that you purchase, they will include like a self-paced kind of course that you can get with it, which isn't great, but it's something. I'm not sure if the 2025 ebook version is out yet, but I know you can buy it now on Amazon, at least the paper versions. The other thing you can do, so if you're like, "Hey, I need some additional resources, how to study for the CPC exam," and you're focused on midterm, that's what I recommend is this book. General Studies, step-by-step book is good. Honestly, the study guides are fantastic, the ones that the AAPC puts out. Their practice exams, I highly, highly recommend those because they mimic the actual exam, so you can get familiar with that whole platform and how to navigate the exam, how to click the notebook, and open up your notepad rather, and open up so you can then type notes to yourself and keep track of what codes go where and what you've already maybe eliminated through the process of elimination. You can figure out how to open up your calculator and skip questions so you're not trying to figure it out on exam day. So that is super helpful. They do have tutorials. So if you don't have the money for practice exams, definitely watch at least through the free tutorials that the AAPC has that shows you how to navigate that platform. Because again, we don't want to be figuring that out on exam day because that's going to slow us down. It's going to be less time we have to actually focus on the coding questions and doing the coding concepts if we're figuring out how to skip questions and what we can and can't open and what happens if we try to right click and so forth. Um, the AAPC local chapters have a lot more review classes these days, so they offer them for pretty reasonable prices. See if your local chapter or one near you or online that you're aware of is having some. Sometimes I usually see them for maybe around $50 to $100 seems to be most common for the review courses. You can get those on demand with the AAPC. Oftentimes, they often have bundles too. So if you're buying your CPC exam voucher, you didn't get that bundled in with anything else. If you're buying that separately, sometimes you can find deals, especially around this time of year where they're like, "Hey, buy your exam voucher. We'll include a study guide. We'll include practice exams as part of that." Now, if you have absolutely 0 budget, you have got nothing. Go through whatever study materials you already have, whatever your school gave you, whatever your college gave you, your instructor. If she assigned odd cases for all of your practice questions, go through the even ones, right? Refresh and use whatever resources you have. But I also have on the website, if you go to the main channel page, there is CPC exam tips. And I also have a review. So that's going to go chapter by chapter through all the different sections. So we're going to go through ICD-10-CM. We're going to go through the integumentary system. We're going to go through female reproductive, urinary. So this whole playlist is available for free on my channel. So you can get 21 videos to go through for free. Now, having said that, a lot of people have been asking me to do a paid review course as well. Problem with that is I have to develop it from scratch now. So I used to have a license with the AAPC and I would use their licensed materials for doing review classes and things. Um, the fees were kind of expensive and I feel like I want to develop something on my own. So I think in 2025, I'm going to put together a professional medical coding review type of course on demand, but we'll see how that goes. Sometimes I have the best laid of plans and don't always get to do everything. Stuff gets in the way, just like with everyone else. Karen asked, there is still an in-person exam. Yes, there is still in-person exams. So your two options for taking the AAPC exams currently are you can either take it in the comfort of your own home or hotel or library or rental space, right? And you have a remote proctor, which means you have to have an external webcam that you can move around and make sure that someone can watch, everything you're doing on your keyboard, your books and everything. And they're basically going to watch you take the exam. They have settings that they'll be able to see everything's going on in your screen and all that. Your second option is to go to the exam center. The exam center is still an electronic exam, so there's no more paper exams, which I think caused some confusion between people. They kept saying, "Oh, there's going to be no more in paper exams." I'm sorry, there's going to be no more in-person exams. There are still in-person exams. It's just that they are no longer on paper, and they're administered a little bit differently. They're administered electronically through an exam center versus through local chapters that are borrowing space, which I personally think is better because when the local chapters had them, they were oftentimes renting space, and it would commonly be in areas like the hospital. So you'd go into the hospital, and what happened to me on a couple of occasions while I was either proctoring or taking an exam is someone would have a baby, and the alarms would be going off with a lullaby because to alert everyone that the baby was born, or there would be like a code blue, and you'd be in the middle of your exam and you'd hear code blue, and all of the alarms, and people would vacuum outside. So having it at an exam center, I assure you, is a much preferable for a lot of things like that. Man, I've just got the funniest taste in my mouth right now. Ooh. I'm like, oh, I have pocket coffee. Hold on. Yes. This is one of my favorite obsessions. I keep them like stashed in my purse, in almost all of my bags. If you've never had a pocket coffee, it's like a chocolate that has this liquid espresso center. So it's just enough that like if you're feeling a little laggy at the end of the day, it'll perk you up a little bit, but not keep you wired. Favorite. Susanna says in school I went to, they did midterm first, and it helped me so much. That's what my school did too. Some of them, they'll kind of do it hand in hand. But I think sometimes it's also good to have a supplement as you're going through. I will forget a lot of midterm stuff and need refreshers periodically. So I think having some of those books and stuff to go through as you're working through stuff is awesome. Oh, that's why we're talking about that. Yeah. So if you're planning to start with a CPC, you really, really should start with midterm first. If you try to go through without learning midterm, you'll wind up probably regretting it later on. And because of how intricate medical coding is becoming and how more complex it is and how much healthcare consumption we're using, the medical terminology, the anatomy, the slightly elevated clinical knowledge is going to be very beneficial in this industry, especially as some of the more simpler tasks are being automated. And we've even seen for years, like we used to have an epic, what was it called? The Wizard, that would read through a note and be like, we think it's this. And we would often test our coders against the Wizard and find out the coders were seeing a lot of things the Wizard wasn't. We have providers kind of selecting, like, I think this is maybe the codes, or searching up diagnoses and picking an approximate code and that being reviewed. So, yeah, medical coding, I think, is going to get a lot more involved and a lot more audity. And I think some of the automation that people are saying is coming is going to cause a lot more struggles on the back end, a lot more discovery of things that were not billed out correctly, fraudulent activity, all of that. Love35 asks, what is the CBCS test? The CBCS is the Certified Billing and Coding Specialist. So this is a combination billing and coding certification. It's through the NHA. A lot of people get this certification because it's included with their schooling. So I don't know if they get like a special deal or have some sort of relationship with a lot of these colleges and institutions, but I do see it included in a lot of programs. Now, if you are looking to get a billing position, it's a fine certification. But really, if you want to get a medical coding job, Employers are looking for certifications through AAPC or AHEMA. They typically will not accept the CBCS for a coding position. There are pockets of areas where they will sometimes accept the CBCS, but generally speaking, what people are really looking for is AAPC and AHEMA credentials. So AAPC or AHEMA. They're really not looking for that CBCS for coding positions. If you're looking for something else in revenue cycle, or you just want to demonstrate your proficiency in billing and coding, it's probably a fine certification. Erica says, I see a lot of people wanting the CDEO now. That's a good one. Is that a good certification to have? I think it's a great one, especially if you want to work more in documentation improvement and work with providers, and do more so intense documentation review. Definitely, definitely. Christina says, is Contempo Coding no longer a channel? I'm a TA for AEPC and recommend you to all my students. Where should I send them out? No, this is still a channel, Christina. So we're live streaming on LinkedIn, we're live streaming on Facebook, and we are live streaming on YouTube right now. So yeah, Contempo Coding is still totally, totally there. How many subscribers am I up to right now? Let's take a look. 178,000. That's a lot. No, I'm still here, Christina. I'm still out and about. I was just on, I don't have it here. I need to have it framed or something. I was just on the cover of AEPC, the magazine, for the December issue. So yeah, all the videos are still there, still accessible. You can definitely still send your students over. Lee Loves asks, I'm an RN. I want the CPC after the CBCS. How do I proceed? You have to become a member of the AAPC, and you have to take the exam and pass it. In order to prepare for the exam, there's a couple of ways to do that. I would recommend maybe some of the AAPC practice exams, and I would recommend their study guide as well, because that'll target some of the things specifically to the CPC versus some of the general studies that are just more so billing and coding. It'll really focus in on the coding portions of it. Trenton asks, what are your thoughts on the lack of emphasis placed on requiring the CPB credential for billing roles in the revenue cycle? Do you think standardizing this requirement, like we do for coding or CDI rules, would improve efficiency and compliance across the industry? I don't know. I think it's just hard for people to adopt that new concept. We've not had credentials required for billing positions the way we have coding positions. I mean, I think it's going to be a hard sell to require billing certifications for billing positions, especially because we do have some other prominent contenders in there, like the CRCR, which is for revenue cycle. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how we would go about getting employers on board with that. And I think that would kind of be the key, is getting the employers themselves on board and proving that somehow having that credential makes the employees in billing positions better at their positions. I know I missed some questions up here, so I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Freedom Child says, I have been a stay-at-home mom for the past 10 years, and I would like to start a career in medical billing or coding. How would you start a new career? I actually just did a really good video on that. It's on the main channel page. Over. If I wanted to become a medical coder in 2025, I do this. And that's the new video that I talk specifically about that. And I think I'm doing another one kind of on the similar vein. I think it's coming out this week or next week. But in any case, I would look into, first off, figure out your budget and then figure out what kind of learner you are, because that's going to help you a lot. If you have very limited budget, I do have some self-study options. It's really not though for everyone, because it is pretty complicated and pretty intense. And I know a lot of people that go like full force into self-study and find out very easily that it's not for them. So there's a video that I have on all my self-study options. You can also look into your community colleges or your technical schools. Benefits of that is that they will probably have in-person classes. That's probably your best option for in-person classes. They will have grants available. They'll have student loans available. The problem is sometimes those fees are astronomical. You don't need an associate's degree for a medical coding position. If you want to get one, absolutely, you can, but it's not required. An associate's degree is not required for most medical coding positions. What they're really looking for is the right training and certifications. You can go to directly through the AAPC. They have a billing and coding like package bundle where you can do the CPC, which is for coding, and the CPB, which is for billing. So they have, here we go. And that here is starts at $3,799. I don't think that includes the books and stuff though, like the code books. You can also check out, I have a free masterclass over at medicalcodingmasterclass.com. Now, I will be completely transparent about this and let everyone know that I do receive sponsorships from the company that I recommend at the end of this masterclass, Preppy. But there's a good reason that I partner with them, and that's because I personally cannot teach everyone who would like me to teach them personally medical billing and coding. I would have to scale my business to a degree that I don't want to scale my business to. I don't want to manage people. I don't want to have to be in charge of the amount of students that it would be coming in every month. Field them all out, personally teach them. Like I would have to scale my business, and that's just not me. That's not my goal in life. So I'm like, let me find the next best thing, like outside of me personally teaching everyone. Preppy gives everyone really affordable on-demand training. They have a lot of things that they've added at the request of me and my viewers, like tutoring. It's online, it's flexible, it's budget friendly. They have externships, they have payment plan options. So it's a great, great option. If you want to find out more about that, you can go to medicalcodingmasterclass.com to find out more. Other than that, honestly, again, if you're like, Victoria, I don't like the fact that you're, promoting something, like you can just like, you don't have to do that. You can go right through the AAPC. You can check your local community college. There's lots of other options out there. Michelle asks, is it possible to make good money in this career? I have my medical billing certificate and taking courses for my RHIT. I don't know anyone who is doing coding. Absolutely it is. So I am a proud community college certificate girly. I have my medical billing insurance specialist certificate from Reading Community College. Other than that, I just have certifications. I started with the CPC and I started specializing and going into all different areas. If I had stayed just as an employee with my last auditing position, I guarantee you I would be making, just in that position, probably $90,000 a year. I think I ended around 70 or 80. And if I'd have probably skipped over to just get another type of internal audit position, I could see myself making six figures. It's absolutely possible, especially if you want to get into a specialty area like interventional radiology and cardiology coding, or if you want to go into inpatient coding, you can make some really decent money. Some people will give up pretty easily though, because those entry-level positions can be a little bit difficult to find. And depending on where you're working, they might be a little bit lower to start out, but there's a lot of career growth that you're not going to get in other areas. Like you can go and get a job packing boxes at Amazon for, I don't know, what do they pay? $15, $20 an hour. But then when you break your back, what are you going to do? Like, where are you going to, you can grow up to maybe what, a shift supervisor? Like, there's not the growth potential there. Like, there is working in healthcare. A lot of people I know, they decided that they got into medical billing and coding. They're like, you know what? I'm not super into this. Like, it's okay. But what I'm really interested in is working with Epic, working with the electronic medical record. And they wound up getting jobs doing all kinds of IT stuff that they still kind of use that medical billing and coding knowledge, but in a way different area that they found out and discovered that they really love. Brittany Hill says, is AI something we need to be concerned about in the future of medical coding? I think it's something we need to be concerned about in every aspect of everything right now. I don't think that concern is isolated to medical coding. I think there's going to be a lot of naysayers that are going to say, oh, you're all going to get replaced by AI. And I've been hearing that now for 10 years, way before ChatGPT. And I think the hard and fast truth of it is any job that is very computer heavy, people are going to say, oh, you're going to get replaced by technology. You're going to replaced by AI. We're not going to need copywriters anymore because we can replace that with AI. We're not going to need uh, uh, um, people who make like digital images because I can just generate them in Dolly or Midjourney. I'm not going to need people to write books because we'll just have ChatGPT write books for us. So I think anything that involves computers, we can reasonably say like, oh yeah, that's going to get replaced by AI. With a lot of the technology and intricacy and complications and changing in medical coding, I think AI will definitely transform it the way it will a lot of industries, but it's not going to eliminate it, right? I wouldn't want to replace my accountant with an AI bot. I wouldn't want to go, you know what, let me just take all of my personal finances and put that in the hands of some automated programs. And that's essentially what we would be doing in healthcare. We would be taking millions and billions of healthcare dollars and saying, "Hey, you know what? We'll just have AI kind of look at it, and that'll probably be fine." And I think the hard and fast truth of that is we all know it won't be fine. We always need some sort of interception of actual people looking at things, right? So yes, I think with the consumption of healthcare, we're going to need AI technology to speed things up. But I do not think that in any way, shape, or form is medical billing and coding going to be completely eliminated by AI. I have a comment here that says, I just started. Is it easy? I only know how to find simple codes from the ICD-10 CM book. On that note, medical coding, there are some easy aspects of it. There are some easy concepts, but as a whole, would I say it's easy? No. If it was super easy, you wouldn't be making good money doing it, right? Like if it was just something that anybody could do and learn in a couple of hours, it wouldn't be such a uh, in desire career, and there wouldn't be so many people struggling through their certification process. So, is it rewarding? Is it doable? Does it take some tenacity? Does it take some discipline to learn? Yes. Is it like learning brain surgery? No. Absolutely worth it though. And I'm here to help you guys along every step of the way. I have tons of videos that are, hey, I'm brand new to medical billing and coding. I don't know if this is the right career for me. That's a whole playlist. Want to become a medical coder? Start here. You need exam tips? Absolutely. Videos on tabbing, videos on exam tips, videos on each individual chapter through your studies, tips on how to find a job, case studies. E&M coding is a big one, so I have a whole playlist. Excuse me. That's just E&M coding. ICD-10 CM guidelines. So there's lots and lots of resources I have available, trying to do more shorts as well, demonstrations, funny videos, insights, just kind of running the gamut here. Definitely running the gamut. Diamond asks, is there a payment plan on the preppy course? Yes, there is. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Let's go over right to the website so I can kind of show you guys the breakdown. So here is the website for preppy, and under certifications, medical billing and coding, they haven't updated for my new last name yet. Get access now. So yes, we have, or they have, I don't own the company. The best value is $1,600. It includes a laptop, um, all the materials, so the ebooks, learner support. You get a certificate of completion that is from a college. I couldn't give you a certificate of completion from a college. I'm not a college. And yeah, it's all on demand, like everything's included. And there is a payment plan though, so that's $299 a month if you want to use the payment plan. Glitchboy asks, when you start medical billing and coding school, will you be assigned homework and tests every week? It really depends on what school and their structure. Some of the tech schools that I've worked with and colleges, yeah, they do have homework and tests every week. If you want to do something that's more self-paced, there's tons of options like Preppy out there, where if you have a busy week and you can't take a test or go through practice cases or do some stuff for a few days, that you can do it at your own pace. Ladriba says, I love all your videos. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Trennan asks, what advice or pathway would you give or lay out for someone who does not have any work experience in documentation or auditing, but has the credentials? I would say if you're currently working in like a billing and coding or revenue cycle or somewhere in healthcare, but not yet made it into documentation improvement or worked in auditing, expand your horizons as much as you can. So if you know someone is going out on vacation, offer to start cross training with them and learning their specialty so you can cover while they're out. Those projects that no one else wants to take because they're like, oh, that's not my job, take those. Really be a team player. Make sure that you're advocating for yourself. If you get a nice email from someone saying, thank you for doing such and such, you go above and beyond on something, put that in a file somewhere, flag it in your email, do something to keep track of it. So that way, when your performance evaluation comes up, you can go, hey, I'm going to give myself a 5 in this category because remember, I did this and this and this and this, and here's the proof. So really putting yourself out there, being that team player. The other thing I would suggest is if you're looking for a position that's elevated but not within your own organization, really focus in tailoring your resume to highlight those areas that they're looking for. I don't want to say, um, say things that you haven't done, but I think you can draw out some of those concepts that you might be working on that might be more appealing to those auditing positions, to those documentation improvement positions. So making sure that your resume is tailored to that and really keeping a track of all of the positions that you're finding on Indeed or Google Jobs. And if you're getting an interview and they're not hiring you, I like to, at the end of the interview, ask, like, if there's any doubts that you're having about me right now, like, what would they be? Or things like, is there anything that I could do that would make me the ideal candidate for this position? So if you try to get those in while you're there for the interview, then you might have some insights as to what was their doubt for maybe not hiring you. Isa is asking, how old is too old to start medical billing? I'm one of those people where I'm like, it's never too old to start anything. I've known people who've started medical billing and coding in their 60s and 70s. Lisa says, I'm considering doing Diploma of Clinical Coding in Australia next year. HIMMA and eHealth are my options. Does it matter who you go through? Some people study medical terminology before as well. As far as Australia, I'm not sure because they differ so much from the United States. Their healthcare distribution is very different. Their payment methodologies, the code sets are even different, and how they obtain their um, data and do the ICD-10 is different there. So I really don't have a lot of insights as far as outside of the US. Susanna says, what is the most needed coding field? Couple of things. There seems to be more of a need for ICD-10 PCS knowledge and inpatient coding. I think a lot of the population we've had of inpatient coders is starting to age and retire. So there seems to be a lot of interest there. Also, because I think it has a little bit more expertise in that area, and you tend to be looking at that whole inpatient stay versus just like a note, 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 note type of thing. It's a little bit more involved. So it's not one that people tend to rush towards. Also, interventional radiology and cardiology coding is a big one that they have. Like, I've had many recruiters tell me that if they find someone who knows radiology coding, inpatient radiology coding, that or interventional radiology rather, that if they know interventional radiology, that they're worth like their weight in gold. I actually have some resources. If you check the channel description, Stacy Buck has some materials for the CIRCC, and I think for a couple of them I do have a discount code. Daniel says, can you take the CPC exam as a student member? Yes. My understanding, though, is you can only get the student membership once. I'm not sure. I think sometimes it's a little funny as far as like AAPC student membership. Like, I don't think I could be like, I'm going to take a new credential and now I'm going to switch my regular membership over to a student membership. But yeah, you absolutely can. I took my exam on a student membership. The student membership is that discounted one that you get because you're currently enrolled into a educational program. So let's see. AAPC student membership, full AAPC membership for the student price. It doesn't really give you a lot of information about. Here we go. Let's see if it says here. An AAPC student is someone enrolled in an AAPC certification course offered directly through the AAPC or an approved educational partner. Yeah, so I've never asked the AAPC this, but I wonder if, since their definition is enrolled in a certification course, if it's like your first certification course, or if I was to be like, you know what, I'm going to buy the course for cardiology, like, could I then get a student membership? I feel like they should outline that a little bit better. Is it in the FAQs? Oh, here we go. Could I still be a student member if I am certified? Oh, there it is. Once you are certified, you are no longer considered a student. Okay, so that's the switch over. Once you have gotten an AAPC certificate of any kind, you're no longer considered a student. So it's only that one time up until you get your certification. Cool, cool, cool. I'm glad you asked that because now I learned something new. I did learn something new. For those of you asking about AI technology, rewind the video about 15 minutes because I covered that about 15 minutes ago. So if you want to know my thoughts on AI, rewind the video about 15 minutes because I already covered that. Otherwise, I do have some videos on the channel where I cover my AI thing. But yeah, I appreciate the questions, but I just can't mention AI every time someone pops in every 5 minutes. Have you heard about the new rule, no highlighting in the books for CPC 2025? I called the AAPC and they told me no highlighting. I haven't heard anything about that. I wonder where, yeah, because I've not heard anything on Social Hour. I've not heard. I have heard that that they're getting closer to ebooks and that they'll give you the option of a paper book or an ebook. But as far as no highlighting or writing in the book, I haven't heard anything about that. And I would certainly hope that if that was the case, that they would have updated some of the FAQs, because here's what's still, let's see what's still on the website. Exams. Let's get into some of these FAQs here. How much does the exam cost? What does the CPC do? What is allowed in our books? What's it say here? Handwritten notes are acceptable in the coding books only if they pertain to daily coding activities. Questions from the study guides, practice exams, or exam itself are prohibited. Tabs may be inserted, pasted, taped, glued in the manuals as long as the obvious intent of the tab is to earmark the page. You cannot alter, white out, paint, or print. That's interesting. Handwritten notes are acceptable. I mean, it doesn't specifically say highlighting. I wonder what it used to say, because I have a prompt that I write about that, because I get that question so much. Hold on one second. Because I feel like if they said highlighting, that would be more prominent. No to highlighting. I don't understand why highlighting would be a problem, but writing would. If I hear any official guidance, I'm going to share that with you guys, but I'll have to pop maybe on Social Hour this week and see anything, because I've not heard anything as far as no highlighting. What's allowed in our books? Handwritten notes are acceptable. Tabs. Altering, whiting out. Yeah, I've not heard anything highlighting. Not to say that that hasn't possibly been changed, but I don't see anything reflected, and I haven't heard anything about highlighting for 2025. Oh, the other place we could check is, and maybe that's not updated yet. Maybe I don't know. I would hope that they would tell people well in advance, because I'm sure people who are getting their books together are highlighting them. Where's the other thing? But yeah, if I hear anything, I don't want to spend too much time rooting around. But yeah, if I hear anything about not highlighting, I'll share that. Because I've had people make comments before about, like, oh, the AAPC told me we're not allowed to do blah, blah, blah. And then I've called the AAPC or heard information or gotten official guidance, and they're like, yeah, that's not true. So yeah, I'll have to see if anyone else heard about the highlighting rule. I know whiting out you're not allowed to. Isabella asks, what certification would make the most money? It's a great question. Every year, the AAPC publishes a salary survey, and this is based off of the responses from their membership. So this isn't like we got employer data or we got information from people who aren't AAPC members. It's just from them polling members and polling members that responded. So if we take a look at the 2024 salary survey, salary by credential. So the top certifications, they're not in order. The top one would be the AAPC approved instructor, which used to be the CPCI. It's now AAPC approved instructor. That is $90,731. Next would be the compliance officer, $89,010. Now, I will say this, just obtaining this credential alone likely won't just immediately jump your salary up to the $89,000. A lot of people that work in compliance have been in healthcare for a period of time, and this is a pretty intense exam. So you have the potential, once you start working into compliance, to get maybe up to that but it's not going to be like, oh, I got this credential, now I'm going to make $89,000. You have to have years of experience. There's been some studies they've done in the past that kind of show, yeah. So here's some of the ones where it shows kind of like the average income to start with experience versus someone who has 30 years of experience. People who work in compliance tend to have more years of experience as well. Now, they also have a salary calculator. I tend to Google things more because I can't always find out where it is on the website anymore through the navigation. But the salary calculator looks like this. And you can select, for example, I'm in Pennsylvania. My primary certification would probably be the CPC. I have, I think 16 years experience at this point. Employer type, weekly hours, 40. Specialty, I have a lot of specialties. Family practice, plastics. They only have a couple listed here, though. Let's say multi-specialty. Why did that take me down? What the heck? But yeah, even if I change this, because I would really say more so, I do have auditing. Why isn't the auditing on here? Role of responsibility. There we go. Auditing, coding, compliance. Did they change this recently? Denies appeals, claim adjudicator, coding specialist. But yeah, it'll give you a little bit more that you can kind of tool around with. I feel like they changed this recently. I feel like this was different. Look at this. It only gives me 3 specialties: gastroenterology, ophthalmology, and podiatry. I wonder if they're like currently working on this. Because it used to give you a much more accurate number and have a lot more options. I wonder if they're updating it. Or maybe there's just not that much data from my state. Maybe if I go to a bigger state like New York. Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. How about that? So if I'm in New York and do they have plastic surgery here? Plastic and reconstructive surgery. There we go. But yeah, you can play around with that too. Shamir is saying it's a really hard time for new coders to enter into this field. I hope coders are required in different areas, hope the coders are required in different areas, work patterns, or protocol. Yeah, actually, the medical coding isn't, I would say, an entry-level position the way some others are. The reason is medical coding isn't regulated the way that other healthcare professions are. So if I'm someone that goes through a practical nursing program and then I get my LPN, those employers have pretty good confidence that I am able to accomplish certain tasks because I've gone through clinical practice. I've worked so many clinical hours. I've passed pretty rigorous certification exams. And we don't have that in medical coding. We have certification exams, but there's a lot of people that haven't gone through adequate training. It's all multiple choice, so we don't really know for sure if people are just really good at taking exams or they actually truly know how to code things from scratch. So employers are a little bit more reluctant to hire newer coders. And unfortunately, what they sometimes do is then take the lazy route and they go, well, instead of having to figure out who can code well and who can't, let's just hire people with 2 years experience. I think some of them really are more open to hiring people that don't have 2 years experience. It's just that you do have to really prove yourself. And that's where things like networking really come into play, or taking positions that are coding adjacent. So for me personally, if I was out looking for a job and I was a new coder, let's say I'm going and I use Indeed for search. So let's say I'm a new coder. I'm looking for a remote position let's get rid of that. I'm looking for a remote position in medical coding. Instead of searching just for medical coder or medical coding, I would search ICD-10 because that's going to bring up a lot more coding adjacent jobs, jobs where they're looking for coding as a skill set, but they might not necessarily be titled medical coder. So here we have things like medical claims examiner. So that's not a medical coder title position, but they're probably looking for someone who has those skill sets. Customer service. Now some of them, of course, are going to be inpatient coder, certified coding specialist, healthcare customer service, medical biller and coder, prior authorization specialist. So these are things that once you get in, it'll be a lot easier to move up. But they're looking for someone who has those coding skills that they're like, oh, this would be so great if we could get someone in this position who knows some stuff about ICD-10 CM, who knows some stuff maybe about CPT and claims and billing and MedTerm and anatomy or EMRs. And once you're in there, you can really work on those skills. And while your title might not be medical coder, if you're working with codes on a daily basis, you're working with them, you're doing something with them, you're doing some kind of lookup or claims review, you can still use that for your experience for removing your apprenticeship status. Because the apprenticeship status removal doesn't mean that uh, for experience, your title has to be medical coder. It's that you're working with medical codes. So that's some of the key things that I would do today. And then, of course, getting a really banger resume, because I've seen some people that look very skilled, but I've seen them make some pretty careless errors or make some or put together resumes where it's like, I think if we just retooled some things, this would be a lot more appealing. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for coming in today. We're just on the hour. I What's next Monday? It's not Christmas yet, right? I'm getting so behind. I haven't finished all of my shopping. 23rd. Okay. So I should be here back next Monday. Unless I start getting a plethora of questions, and I might pop in over the weekend. We'll see. But in any case, I want to thank you guys for coming in. I want to thank you for asking so many wonderful questions and being so kind and caring, and for liking and sharing and subscribing and supporting the channel. This is all recorded. It will be on the YouTube channel. It will be on, I think Facebook keeps it for a couple of weeks. And then LinkedIn, it will be on the LinkedIn event. So if you go to my LinkedIn page, Victoria Vo, you can access it there. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.